I wanted to come on here today and talk about the market sentiment and how it's been lately with the IPO markets, potential SPACs beginning to launch, as well as the current state of you have these big tech companies which seem to be bleeding out or just not moving as much, but you see a lot of these small to mid cap stocks running. So I wanted to kind of discuss where I think the market's at right now and what could potentially be coming. So that being said, let's hop right into the video. So first off, I want to talk about market sentiment. So with the current market sentiment, we see a bunch of the mid cap to small caps running, and there's almost no rhyme or reason. We've seen it with ASTS. You've seen Circle run out of its IPO. You've seen Oscar recently start running, and it's not that some of these run-ups aren't justified, because some are. Like I just made a video on Oscar, and I would say their run-up has been justified based off results. But then you have companies like Circle, where I believe more the run has to do more with the hype in crypto than it does with the fundamentals behind a company like Circle. Same with like Chime. We saw that one run out of IPO. Now it's come down quite a bit, but that was another one that ran off of just IPO hype rather than company fundamentals. So this brings a lot of people back to 2021 and where everything was running for no rhyme or reason. There was just so much capital on the sidelines that people were looking to deploy it in these high risk companies because they were tired of the big tech companies that everybody constantly just talks about, and where they wanted to put it in more risk on, and which we know what happened later. We had a huge spike in inflation, and markets would later come down quite a bit into what 2022 became. And I'm kind of getting similar vibes here. Now, I don't think we're going to see a large spike in inflation, in which the Federal Reserve has talked about and why they're keeping rates high right now. I actually think what's going to happen is we're getting a bunch of a high run up now because stocks have been running for a long time, and we're seeing the Nvidias stay flat, the Amazon stay flat, the Googles being down, and all these small to mid caps are running. And I believe we're entering a period where we're in super high FOMO, and I think it's going to come down once we start to see an over tightening. The Federal Reserve mentioned themselves in this last meeting they had this last week that they are seeing a huge slowdown in job creation, and what they're banking on is not that people are going to continue to get hired, because they're seeing college students, in which I've talked about in a previous video as a college student myself who has recently gone through the graduating process, that the hiring of college students is at a recessionary level, of which is like 6 to 7% of students aren't able to get a job out of college. And so we're seeing job creation not there, um, and it goes behind beyond just college students. You're seeing this with people who have been laid off or lost a job or quit, being having a hard time finding a new job. What they're banking on for unemployment is that people who have a job right now are not going to get laid off, and that is a scary game, because as the tightening continues, layoffs are a delayed indicator for a recession, and they happen fast. So if next month all of a sudden we start seeing cracks, whether it's from the war or maybe there is an over tightening and layoffs just hit, it's going to be too late and we're going to be in a recession. And I think whether those layoffs come or they don't come, I believe we're at least in a spot where we could see some market downturn in fears of just that happening. Every time I look at the market, I feel like, and I cannot find a deal. Like, it is very hard to find any stocks that are cheap right now. And when you get to that point, it's almost followed immediately by a downturn. And I was saying this on Thursday. I was saying this last week. I was just thinking it. And then Friday, so happenly, seemed to be pretty red for almost no reason. And to me, that signals what my insider feeling is of, maybe it is time for some market downturn to at least give the market a breather. But I also think there's more pain ahead. Um, And that pain ahead might not be for a month. That might not be until the next unemployment data in like 2 weeks or so. But I do believe it's coming. So I wanted to put this video out just to talk a little bit about how I felt on the market sentiment, and now I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm doing to hedge against this. So I just want to say that nothing in this video is financial advice. This is just me spilling out my thoughts as well as my opinion on what's going on right now and what I'm doing to hedge myself. So as I previously mentioned, I had been selling cash secured puts on SoFi for a while and just building my cash position. This last week I actually switched that to Oscar and I sold cash secured puts at 14 for about $40 premiums. And if you guys follow me on Twitter, you'd see that that one stung a little bit because I clearly would have been better off if I would have just bought the stock and let it ride for a little bit, or even if I would have just sold covered calls on it at that point, which also wouldn't have been a bad play for how cheap that stock was. But nonetheless, I collected my $40 premiums, and currently now, because I am expecting a market downturn, I don't want to start selling cash secured puts at the top of the market. What I will do instead is I got about 7K on the sidelines now. I will sell cash secured puts with the 7K, not use margin. I can collect about $150 a week doing that, which is better than nothing. And if the market downturn comes, then I got a bunch of margin to sell cash secured puts again once, you start to find that bottom, and the premiums are going to be very juicy on that. And if the market continues to run, I continue to build my cash position, and I'll go from there because I just don't see how it's realistic for this market to keep running. A lot of the forward PE ratios or price to sales ratios are getting very pricey for a lot of these companies. Had an interaction on Twitter with someone who's invested in ASTS, and when I brought up, I was like, I can't get behind a company like ASTS because I love the vision, I love the product that they're creating, but a company that's barely creating any revenue and is not profitable yet, why would I invest in that 15 billion market cap company when there's a company like SoFi out there that's valued the same, is about to be doing $1 billion in revenue and is profitable and continues to grow their margins? There's way less risk in that, and they have just as high of an upside. So why would I? And then their response was, you have to have that vision. But when people start investing straight off of just vision, I feel like that's when when you're in like the very high FOMO stage, because you can have a vision with just about any company, just like Hims. You have the vision of they're going to become the Netflix of healthcare, and all these pharmaceutical companies are going to be partnering with them and having their product on there, as well as them being able to personalize those solutions. And that's the big vision, and it's in the pharma space. It's not any small space, but yet why don't they have that premium? They just trade at 14 billion, and they do about their 600 million in revenue a quarter, and they're very profitable. Their margins are great. So when people start talking about, oh, you just don't believe in the vision, that's when I start to get skeptical about where we're at in the market, and that's just how I feel right now. So I wanted to come on here and spill a little bit about what I'm feeling with the current sentiment in this market. Also, comment below how you guys are feeling, as well as if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. With that being said, I want to just wrap this video up one more time by saying none of this was financial advice. I just wanted to come on here and spill my thoughts about where I think the market currently stands, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.